Man, look, automation is the name of the game. Pen and paper is definitely out. Bryce noticed a lot of problems within the construction industry, communication really being one of them. So, what did he decide to do? He really sold his construction company. He went all in on software. But I think sometimes we really fail to realize all of the capabilities that come with software. Yes, we love automation. Yes, we love efficiency, but the learning curve can be challenging depending on what you're used to and what you were raised up on. But Bryce did not steer away from learning new things, nor did he steer away from bringing in a team whose expertise was more so geared towards that. And with that, the software that they implemented now can literally serve as a virtual on-site inspector, helping you stay within compliance, helping you check the weather. I won't give you too much. I'll let Bryce do the explaining. So without further ado, enjoy episode 207, Technically Speaking. Good there. All right. Okay, so 3, 2, 1. What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Down to Business podcast here with Tamar Turner. Summer's coming to a close. We're wrapping some things up, arguably some of my favorite times of the year. You know, we've celebrated my birthday. We've been able to do a live event. We've been able to do our grant giveaway, and shout out to everybody who really made that come to fruition, really made it happen. I'm excited that for this being our inaugural year, just all of the feedback and everything that we got on top of that. I appreciate y'all bearing with me because life did happen a little bit and I had to push some things back, but nonetheless, delay is not denial. And we're here right now with Bryce. I'm very, very, very excited to be sitting down with him. I think that he's probably going to, I know definitely he's going to teach me some things. I won't even really say probably, but I know that he'll be able to, one, be a resource, but also provide some insight to those out there, whether you be in the specific industry that he's in, maybe you're curious about it, or maybe you know nothing about it and maybe just are here to learn something today. But definitely excited for the conversation, excited to see everything that he has going on and what he's doing with his brand and the business he's been able to build, and then kind of just whatever he's able to share and the help and the resources that he's able to offer us. But before we get into all things, before I let him kind of just take over and steal the show, Bryce, how you doing today? How's everything on your end?
Doing good. We're in the middle of construction season and we're a construction tech company. So times are busy and life is good.
Gotcha. Well, we love to hear that. We love to hear that business is booming, and we always love to hear a good type of busy. So for those out there, I know you already gave us some insight into what you're doing, but I know we're going to have some people from your side tapping in. I know we're going to have some people from my side tapping in, but I also know we're going to have some people from really just the middle, I would call it, or people who probably know nothing about us but came across this episode in some capacity. So to bring everybody up to speed, to put everybody on the same playing field, can you just do two things for me? One, just tell us what brings you on the podcast today. Well, first, tell us a little bit about yourself. And then two, tell us what brings you on the Down to Business podcast today.
Yeah, no, a little bit about myself. I own a construction tech software company. I've been in construction my whole life, and I wanted to help the industry improve with technology, automate the busy work, and that's kind of where we're at today. Is we're a venture-backed company, kind of disrupting the industry with technology. And the podcast, our main goal is to really bring knowledge out there on what we do, the road systems, infrastructure. It's all important on how we, as a society, travel, stay in touch, drive from one place to the next, and the importance of it, and how we're trying to change that and improve it in the industry. That's kind of our main purpose.
Got you. I like that a lot. And as somebody who I wouldn't say I'm well versed with the construction industry, but I have friends. I've worked in it in some form of capacity. My dad actually used to be a GC, so he had his own business, and working with him a lot of the summers and really just trying to make some money, but also trying to learn some things. And also, he just wasn't letting me sit around the house and not do anything. So had to kind of take some of those trips and some rides with him as well. Now, something that I'll ask, I guess, to lead me into the beginning of this, when you first. Well, you said that you've been in construction pretty much all your life. So when you first kind of made your venture, when you first started really tapping into this industry, what were you doing to start?
A lot of it happened organically, honestly. I owned a construction company and I worked for a large scale Midwest company. And I just seen voids in things that could have been automated with technology that took time. And really, that's what we built, and then found that other people had the same issues. So the transition was probably a little bit harder, going from we just sold our construction company and we're all in software now, to The biggest struggles I've had, honestly, are from building things with your hands to using your brain and mind all day to physically kind of being active and things like that has been a change. But yeah, 5 years ago, I always say this, and 5 years ago, if somebody would have told me like you're not going to be in construction anymore, you're going to own a software company, I would have laughed at them. But it just happened naturally and organically to where we had something that worked, solved an issue, and we keep finding more and more issues and problems out there we're solving with it. It just keeps growing and expanding. So
And I think it's so interesting that you said it that way too, about, just thinking about 5 years ago, because I feel the same way when I talk to a lot of these people within the tech space or AI space, or even just in their industry specifically. It's so interesting to see some even who started latter than 5 years ago, and just to see now how the industry has evolved, or how, like you said, if they would have looked at what they were doing some odd years ago and now to see what they were doing, it's a complete night and day difference. They would have never expected that. They would have almost kind of looked at you, like you were crazy. So when making the transition from, I know you said kind of joining and getting into construction, very organic, very something that kind of just came with ease to you. Now, when taking what you knew, when taking everything that you were doing from that hands-on approach and physically to now implementing it within software, what was that a difficult transition for you? Was it a lot of kind of learning and trying to stay ahead of the curve because of what comes with being in the tech space? Or was it just something, as you said, that as you kind of started to learn, it made more sense, you realized you were solving problems and you just kind of continued with it?
no, it was very difficult. I'm not a technical founder, even though I do push a lot of technologies in the construction, innovative technologies. It's different than being a software technical founder. So the first few years, I really was acting as a CTO, CEO, multiple hats, and tried to lead a custom development team, and didn't really understand all what was possible with software. And one of the biggest things, one of the best things we ever did was brought in a CTO with technical expert that literally handles our in-house dev team. I can concentrate on product, come up with the ideas, they build it, and it's just so efficient now. And that was the hardest transition for me, not being technical, but knowing exactly what needed to be solved. So that was a huge blessing to find that individual and still have them running our team today.
It's always amazing when you can almost in a sense delegate, but really capitalize on your strong suits and what you do. When you have someone who's tech, because I've talked to CTOs, CFOs, and just to hear what they're bought in for, to hear what the responsibilities is behind them. I've even talked to fractional people, who kind of come in for a specific period of time, or maybe to do a specific thing, solve a specific problem, hit a specific goal, and go from there. So it's always interesting to see how companies can then adapt, once they find somebody that can kind of fill those voids or fill those gaps. And as you said, it allowed you to then allot your focus other places. And I think that that's cool. Now, I was reading specifically that you're within asphalt paving. So within that industry, within that particular sector, does it get more specific than that? Like, are you like residential? Is this commercial? Does it really just kind of depend?
It it can be used by anybody. We specifically concentrate on asphalt paving because that's the industry I came from. Our software actually, Ground Truth, which is a piece of Pavewise, we have anybody in horizontal construction, from crane companies running it to dirt work to even concrete companies, asphalt paving companies. If you're affected by weather and you have to follow compliance, it helps do that with high accurate weather and notifications and tied into state specifications. So it's literally like an on-site virtual inspector in your hand. So that, but we have companies that are doing less than $1 million and have one crew just using it for scheduling, because what it does is you can drop in a pin location. What it does is actively track at 100% accuracy the weather on that specific location, so you can schedule out your work. And weather affects a lot what we do outside. So these individuals kind of plan their schedule around where they can work and be the most efficient and stay in compliance. So we have up to $1 billion company down to $1 million company running it and all using it for those kind of efficiency factors like that.
Wow, I like that. And you said 100% accuracy. It doesn't sound like you can get too much better than that.
No, you really can't. I mean, they're hyper local certified stations that we put out on site, and it's tracking real time weather right there with our AI models predicting up the future and everything. So it's pretty awesome stuff.
Wow, I love that, man. You gotta love the power of artificial intelligence. Now, I'm hearing in what you're saying too. I'm hearing a problem that needs to be solved. Obviously, people would want to know what the weather is going to be like, what's happening, so they know kind of how to plan, what to do, what not to do. Now, and I also know towards the beginning of this interview, you also spoke about how moving from that physical, that hands-on, to now the tech and the software side, it allowed you to be able to solve some things. So, what were some problems that you were noticing within the industry that companies were having? That because I could imagine that some of these things started to become common, which is why you then wanted to implement this software to then kind of combat that and serve as a solution. So what are some other things within this industry, or maybe just within construction in general, that Pavewise that you guys were looking to solve and combat?
Communication, that's a huge problem in this industry. Just the lack of it or the efficiency of it, and a lot of this industry still runs on pen, paper, old school methods, and it's just not efficient to get proactive. We call it proactive data, like new sets of plans and specs over in a quick amount of time, or change orders, so that the right initiation can happen, and everything to make the project move forward and stay efficient. It was just we still honestly, that's one of our biggest competitions still, is just pen paper. We're trying to change that behavior in the industry. So communication has been huge, and then just training. A lot of what our system does is we have patent pending engines in it that are almost like uh, recommendations. So when these environments change, we are actually giving out recommendations on what the crews can do to stay compliant. Safety, slip falls with wind speeds, things like that, that we're just automating into to help them stay safe, stay compliant, stay efficient.
Wow. I like that. I guess I wasn't even really expecting that, the communication part. But now that you kind of explain, when you look at the industry itself and what it really is and what they're based from, like you said, that traditional, that old school, that pen and that paper, I couldn't, and even pencil in some cases. My dad had a lot of pencils when he was a general contractor, especially from Home Depot and just those different places. But I could imagine that, for what people were used to, for that foundation that was built the same way these traditions in a sense were set in stone, it's hard when you start to go against the grain a little bit, or it's hard when you start to kind of do something that people aren't used to, or get outdated in a sense. So I guess my question then to you is, for those people who had trouble adopting this or understanding this, or looking at Pavewise, and you as Bryce, or you as even the company, you guys kind of explaining the software and everything that comes with it, and they still may not necessarily agree, like it, or want to even do it. How do you respond to certain people like that, or when people kind of come to you and really just have no idea what you guys are doing, or what you're trying to solve in a sense? How do you explain that?
We still go through this. I mean, daily we're trying to battle this change. Right, this industry is very stuck on. It's always been done this way, and change is hard for any industry, but specifically this one. So what we really concentrate on doing is, when we find a company that is interested, we locate a champion within that company. So somebody that we know wants this technology, they're struggling, they feel the pains, and they're going to be our promoter for it, and kind of help us push it into the company, and become, it becomes a norm. What we've found, and we've really listened to our customers, is taking the friction out of some of the technology side of it by automating the messaging, running AI in the back end to manage documents, things like that, that just take time. When we can save time and prove to the users that, hey, this is helping you, and they can trust it, that helps tremendously. But we battle it every day. I mean, that's our biggest hurdle right now, is getting the industry to understand what it is we're doing and how it can help them, and just changing that behavior.
And I think it's interesting too that sometimes y'all could even have to fight just a little bit more, battle just a little bit more inadvertently, because of the message and what how AI and technology is just being promoted these days too. You know, when it's kind of like it's almost like a scare tactic in some cases, or it's almost like they want you to know as little as possible, or they'll kind of only give you certain things, and it's up to you to kind of then go do your research or everything like that. You know, because I could imagine that there are some people out there that hear that a company is moving to the software side of things, or hear that they're trying to implement the AI things, and all they know is about the negative headlines or what AI is doing from a bad standpoint. They're just like, well, why would I want to do anything? But little do you know, like you said, you're solving one of the biggest barriers within the industry, communication, and how things are getting across, how companies are kind of moving around, and essentially the work that's being done. So with what you guys are doing, with everything that, you know, because obviously, like you said, moving from a hands-on approach to now software and in this direction, it's quite the transition. How do you find yourself? How does the company really stay in tune and up to date with things? You know, because something that I also think about is that AI is constantly evolving. I don't know what model Chat GPT we're on right now, but it's multiple of them, and it's too many to keep up with. There's always an update here. Google's releasing things, even social media platforms. We're seeing that they're trying to enter this meta space and really competing with one another. So how do you guys really stay up to date with everything that's going on and ensuring that you're providing the best, most up-to-date software?
Yeah, we have, my CTO is a wizard in AI, and that was one of the how we got into it. We really didn't promote. We still don't promote our software as an AI tool. It just runs AI in the back end to help. We had friction. We had friction with users not wanting to spend the time to upload documents and put them in the right files for the right projects. And we brought it to our dev team and, hey, this is friction. And they created PAT, we call it, Pavewise assistant tool, which is ran off of AI and helps them manage all that. And we're working on, we have AI cameras collecting data in the field and things like that. And we're just constantly looking at how and what technologies are coming out and how they're working and how can we transition those into construction to help. And that's really where we're pushing a lot of the boundaries of AI and technology. There's a lot of room for improvement, and I trust my dev team and my CTO on when, hey, look at this new technology. I think we could integrate it in and help our software be more efficient. I trust their judgment. And one of the reasons we don't promote that we do run AI is because it is scary. In the construction industry, a lot of the individuals think of AI, they Skylink. I mean, they start thinking of their jobs getting taken from them. But little do they realize that, there's multiple AI systems running in the software that helps them save an hour or two of busy work every day. And they don't complain about it when it's helping them get home a little earlier or helping them take care of tasks that they used to do every day. And, so that's slow, and we slowly implement them into these things. We don't, as a company, we're already fighting against the grain with just changing behavior. So we really concentrate on making sure that the individuals are finding the value in the software and listening to them and just kind of, being there to support them through that change.
And I think that that's important too. I love how you ended that, just because a lot of times why things can become overwhelming is just because of the rate at which they're being implemented or the speed at which things are coming. And sometimes if we just took the time to maybe just slow down, maybe just hone in, maybe explain things a little bit more, maybe instead of going 3 steps, hey, we just tackle 1 right now, or we just do 2 right now. But oftentimes when there's so much information coming and when you don't necessarily understand everything too, it can just be kind of like it can just be almost kind of like trying to drink from a water hose. And it can be a lot, and that could even deter people even more. But I feel like, when it's that transparency, when it's that authenticity, but when it's also just the real explanation of what you're doing, because I think oftentimes too, these companies try to really just make the tech speak for itself. And sometimes you have to really you have to put an explanation to that, maybe a presentation to that, maybe real life examples to that, because I know what I'm reading, I know what I'm seeing, but I don't necessarily know what it is when it's being implemented, or I don't necessarily know what I'm always looking at in real time. Now, you also spoke about too, the range of companies that you work with. So you're saying that some can be on the $1 million side, some can be within the $1 billion size, some can be far in between. So what have you seen, or what have you found as far as opportunities for those smaller companies, for those smaller contractors to be able to now scale, implement what's going on, and then kind of boost themselves to be really where they want to be, or be in these $1 billion conversations?
Yeah, what we've found with the smaller companies is, we save a lot of time for the individuals, the operations managers that have to collect a lot of this documentation. And now that like we onboard these companies that there's only 6 employees, we've taken that individual and I'm giving them back a lot more time to concentrate on the crews, on more bidding. And in our software too, what it is it's a centralized platform. So in the field, if somebody takes a picture of their work or uploads a document, everybody has access to it, and we do notifications for document uploads, and we share plans and specs. Um, they don't have to they don't have to struggle as much on my crew is going to get rained out on this project today. They have a high confidence and accuracy, and they know they're going to get this work done. So it's a little bit of a support mechanism for the smaller companies, that it's almost, we say it's like having a virtual assistant it's a foreman's best friend. It's like having a virtual assistant in your hand. And we're ran on a phone. We're a progressive web app that's 90% of our users are on a phone. So they pull out their phone, they have their plans, their specs, they have the weather, they have everything they need to make some of the most important decisions moving forward. And that support is what we really hear from a lot of them.
Wow, I love that. And it also just really goes to show that the opportunities are endless in a sense. And just depending on your education level, your implementation level, even sometimes your comfort, because I feel like with this too, you have to have a certain level of just comfort and trust, and one with being told to you, but also your company, your brand, your business, what you're trying to build. Now, I've heard of the Industrial Revolution. I've heard of the French Revolution. Some people have even told me about a happiness revolution, American Revolution, or anything like that. But what is the paving revolution?
The paving revolution, that is the transition from pen and paper to technologies. And a lot of it revolves around data. These machines, that's one thing about construction. There's a ton of data being collected, but that data is not being put to use to be proactive, to improve quality, to make longer lasting roads, to be more efficient. And that's the revolution that we really push towards, is let's take that data and implement it into a way that benefits our infrastructure, our workers, makes them safer. And that's the revolution there that I believe we're on. We're on that path. We see it changing every year. We see more and more technologies pushed into construction to help with all those things. And I think a lot of it is the younger generation coming up and replacing the older that was born into having technology in their hands. And they're just like, no, I am not journaling this on a piece of paper when I have an app here that can do it all for me and store it and share it all at the same time. So that revolution is happening, and it's exciting. We're kind of right in the beginning of it, and it's exciting to see what the next 10 years will bring.
And that kind of segues me into my next question too. You might have even been reading my mind a little bit, but no, it's always interesting to see something that I noticed at a conference that I was at recently, was when they asked everyone to get ready to take notes. The different, like, you had some people pull out the pen and paper, you had some people pull out a journal, most people pulled out their phones, some people had the laptops up. So it was very interesting just to see. But it also I started to age people in the room a little bit, because I was just like, okay, well, if we're pulling out the traditional, the pen and the paper, hold on, you might know a little something. You might have been on the phone book era, that person sending the mails or writing the checks and things like that. But it's always very interesting just to see what we shy away from or what we may negate just because we're unfamiliar with it. Now, as we spoke to at the beginning of the interview, the fact that you really started in the industry the way that you did, and even to see it 5 years later where you're at, it's a surprise to you. It's eye-opening and everything like that. So we think about now 2024 going into 2025 and even years to come, with everything going on from the tech side of things, from even the construction industry, specifically with asphalt paving. Where do you see the future outlook of all of this as we continue? Because as you said, even with the years, more and more tech is being implemented into this industry. So what do you see happening as we continue to go through this? Do you see this moving forward as a almost completely autonomous and automated thing that'll just be done from no matter where you are? Do you still see that there needs to be some sort of physical aspect? What are your thoughts around that?
I think there's going to be a lot of automation in construction, because there's a lot of tasks that are you do over and over again. I think of asphalt rolling; they just roll behind the pavers. And actually, we're doing an autonomous asphalt rolling project here, first one ever in the United States. Pavewise is leading that and collecting the data on it with an equipment manufacturer and a contractor here. And you're seeing a lot more of those laws get pushed into place. But remote operators, it's becoming really popular. I was just out in Illinois with Cat Global and Caterpillar Equipment, and we're seeing operators from 1,000 miles sitting in air conditioned offices running large pieces of equipment out in mines. And I think that is by far the future of this industry. Construction is, a lot of people, when they think of construction, it's calluses, long hours, hard work, and it is. There's a lot that goes into construction, but technology can help, at least with a lot of those things, putting the operators, those people, into better environments and better conditions, safer environments. And that's just where we see the industry trending real heavily right now. I'd say less than 5 years, we're already seeing autonomous construction equipment. We're going to see 50% of the fleet in less than 10 years is going to be autonomous, which I tell a lot of people that doesn't mean, like that's taking away jobs. What it does is puts you in it's a digital operator. You still need people to maintain, and it's a different type of operator and person operating these equipment and things like that. So it's exciting. And the data we're collecting, the ways we can build better infrastructure with technologies is all exciting, because it's just changing day to day. And these are the road systems and the infrastructure we need to really be efficient as a society.
And I think too, the more you add to that automation, the more you just free up opportunity, time to do other things too, like you said, or not necessarily having to be on site all the time or here and there, because construction and a lot of that, from the physical aspect, a lot of it can just be days and hours and weeks and times just focusing on particular places. But if you can delegate, if you can know that there are systems in place to handle that, then it'll also open you up to opportunities over here or what else. But no, major congratulations for Pavewise being the first in the United States to champion a project like that. That's an amazing feat for sure. And it also goes to speak to, one, just the work behind the company, but also just what's being implemented and what you guys are doing and tried and true time and time again. It's one thing to have something that's new and it has to kind of be introduced to the people, but it's another thing to have something new introduced and then taken and understood and adapted, and then you go from there. And then you kind of, because even as I'm sure that with Pavewise, with even you just specifically thinking, as you've implemented this technology across different companies and within different sectors, you've noticed different things, you've learned different things, you've tailored different things, you've tweaked it time and time again. Technology is ever changing. Now, this question more so pertains to the fact that I recognize that my audience is pretty expansive within the United States. And I know that sometimes companies are based in one place, and sometimes people may have the connotation or just they may be under the impression that they can only pretty much work in that area. So when it comes to Pavewise, when it comes to securing different projects across the globe, we won't even really limit it to the United States. But when it comes to just working and how everything does, how with the technology, how are you guys able to implement and really serve people across the world?
Yeah, right now we're just in the United States. We've had a lot of interest in South America, Europe, all over. The market in the United States is so immense that we've stayed more than busy in just trying to keep our customers here happy and everything. But it changes from geographical locations, right? I mean, you go down to Texas where the contractors work 11 months out of the year, to I'm up in the Dakotas, North Dakota, and we get like maybe 5-6 months to do all of our work. So we've had to adapt to how can we help these different geological companies with specific locations and stuff with geography. But honestly, like I said, if you're working outside and you have compliance and weather affects your operations and efficiency, that's what we do. We help you make the decisions on where you should work, what the conditions will be, and how to perform in those conditions, from safety to even operations. And that that's why we really can be put anywhere and help. And that's why we feel like, that's why there's so much potential with the company is it doesn't matter where you are, we're going to help you with the condition and environment that you're working in.
I love that a lot. And because it also goes to show me that while you're constantly adapting and adjusting as just business owners and entrepreneurs, you also have to adjust your landscape to serve in different places and serving different people and doing different things like that. While the technology, while the software, while the company, the mission, the mantra, everything remains true, you still can't serve, as you said, the Dakotas the same way you would serve Texas or East Coast or down south. And, when you go to South America, that'll just be a totally different ball game. And you can even speak to, it could be things that you're not even thinking about right now, from a landscape to language barriers to even some of their rules and ramifications and guidelines that they operate on down there. Now, when you think about your journey within the construction industry, even within Pavewise specifically, what has been something that, as you're kind of moving and grooving now, as you're learning things now, as you're getting comfortable with everything that you're doing, what has been an eye-opening experience for you throughout this entire process?
We're a venture-backed company, and I didn't even know what venture capital was a year and a half ago. And we knew we had something unique and that we had to move fast on it. So, it was eye-opening to me to see that venture world. And we're going to continue to grow. We're raising another round, but I didn't even know that it really existed. And without it, we weren't able to grow. So it was real eye-opening to me to see this startup world and the support in it. It's even up here in the Dakotas. We have an office in Bismarck and Fargo has like just a flourishing entrepreneur startup world going on. And I've been able to travel to Austin, Texas, and Chicago, and East and West Coast to all these startup events and stuff. And it's just that ecosystem and the support that I've gotten from it, from other co-founders and stuff, has been like just eye-opening, and from investors as well. Like that's the real cool thing about being venture-backed and startups is like there's people who've been through starting a company and some of the headaches and pains, and you don't have to recreate that wheel. A lot of times I have a co-founder or I have a good mentor who's been in software for 10 years now. And like, I reach out to him when I have issues because he's been through it, and having that structure, that ecosystem has been like super eye opening for me because I didn't even know that existed. So that's been cool.
I love that. And I love, even for me, like speaking to a lot of these entrepreneurs and business owners, and I would agree the same thing. When we started talking about angel investors and venture capital and everything like that, it was like I was a deer in the headlights. I had no idea. But, once I really started to do some research, learn some things, get involved with it, it was very cool. It was very eye-opening for sure. And, it only just makes you more excited for the future, for what's to come. And, as we continue to dive deeper into the business ownership and entrepreneurial side of things, man, it's all good things. So no, I love that that's kind of been something that you've learned, you've seen, but you're also kind of just tailoring to the success of Pavewise and any other ventures that you may adopt along the way. So now, with everything that you guys are doing, without having to, I love, as we kind of spoke about before I hit live on this, I'm a futuristic kind of person, whether it just be the nature of the episodes, but also just the podcast, because I recognize that there are going to be people who, when they hear this episode, they're now going to want to follow along the Pavewise journey. They're now going to want to tap in with you guys, figure out what you guys are doing. And I always want to give them something to look forward to on top of everything, obviously, that we spoke about today. So as we think about the remainder of the year, as we even think about the future outlook, couple of years from now, long game, everything like that, is there anything that Pavewise is looking to maybe even view? I know you said that, you're looking obviously to expand your reach. So go from the United States to now a bit more globally, internationally. But is there anything from a project perspective, anything that we can look forward to, any collaborations, any even new technology or software that you guys are kind of experimenting with or doing with now? I asked that question not to spoil anything. So if there's anything, kind of under wraps or we can't put it out there, then that's perfectly fine. But I always just want to give people something to look forward to.
Yeah, I mean, we're constantly working on innovations and taking ideas and testing them. We have a handful of prototypes out there now. One dream that I've always had is, and I got a few patents on it, and this is like going to be a few years down the road, but we have a autonomous AQCR, we call autonomous quality control roller, that helps follow behind the operations. It's collecting data, it's giving recommendations, it's helping the operators coach them through areas that they need to improve on as far as with their equipment to improve the quality of the road. So this, we call it AQCR. I call it hot sauce is the nickname of it. We're constantly thinking about this and building it. And actually the engines that we're working on now, the data engines that we're working on in Pavewise are the engines that will be running this technology in the future. And that's exciting for me because even though it doesn't exist right now, we're building the brains of it with the data that's coming through our customers, through the sensors and our hardware in the field, and we're building the models right now to help this machine understand and learn. So that's really exciting, and taking this immense amount of data and putting it through models to learn and teach the system how to coach operators is very exciting for us as well. So those are things that kind of fill my cup and make me excited, because ultimately that's what I built this company for, was to help the industry and people within it just be better and do better. And those types of tools are designed to do that.
Hot sauce got my attention now. I'm ready for it. I'm looking forward to it for sure. But that's cool. I think that, it's always very interesting. I guess, nobody would have ever predicted really what the world would look like, what technology would look like, what construction would look like, media would look like. But, to see things just adjusting, adapting, moving, grooving, and in their respective lanes and their respective rights is always very interesting. But I always love that question, just because it always just lets me know, as you kind of started the answer with, we're always testing and implementing and doing different things, because the grind never stops, the work never stops, even for what you're doing. I'm sure you've realized that now, with the physical aspect of things. At some point, the day has to come to an end. The sun goes down, maybe the weather is inclement, anything like that. But with the tech, with the software, there's always something happening. There's always something moving behind the scenes. There's always something that even when you close that laptop, it's working, or you're testing and you're hoping that, it's going to, like you said, it's not even out yet, or it's not even existing per se, but all the data that's being built. So that way, when it's time and you implement it, you already have tests, you already have trials, tribulations, everything like that. So it really goes to show you just all the work and all the ins and outs that has happened, both behind the scenes, both internally and externally. So before we close things out, before I let you pretty much tell people where they can reach you from as far as social media, websites, all things Pavewise and Bryce, do you feel like there's anything that we have not touched on today? Any last words that you want to even leave for business owners, entrepreneurs, for even other people within the construction or technology industry? Anything you feel like we missed?
Nothing specifically. I mean, this journey is a roller coaster. It's ups and downs, and it took a long time, and I'm still learning how to enjoy the wins, because they don't last long, and you're getting that phone call and your system might be down or having an issue. So like, I've really tried to be grateful for when we get that new customer and we got a win, we got a good comment from feedback from a user and stuff like that, because that's super important. This is not an easy, being an entrepreneur startup in construction is like, I was just asking for a, just it's hard. So taking those wins and just rolling with them and staying, getting a good team surrounded by you and just staying positive. It's very hard sometimes. I just had this conversation with my co-founder because this time of year gets hard. There's lots of construction. It's really busy. And I sometimes get into these groups where I'm like, hey, I have to go see this customer. I have to go do this. And my co-founder is like, no, you don't have to do any of that. You get to do that. There's a lot of people who would want to go do that, and you get to do it. You don't have to. So just changing a simple word from like have to get to is just like those mindset shifts that you have to take and just run with and be positive. So that's the only thing.
you spoke about communication being quite the barrier within the industry. So even within yourself, that can sometimes be, we have to pay attention to the verbiage that we use, how we put things out, what we put out there. Like you said, that mindset, when the mind is off, everything else will follow suit. So yeah, the more you keep that mind intact, the more you keep that mental fortitude, the rest will kind of work itself out just the same. So I think that that's a great point. I think it also speaks to just, even through all the success, even through everything that you've gone, there's still that sense of just humbleness and gratefulness, and just recognizing that, this could be totally different tomorrow, or this could be totally different pending an industry change or an adjustment or anything. So I love to see that. I love to hear that. But obviously, from the down the business side, we're wishing nothing but success. Obviously, you spoke to some of the successes, being the first company to champion the project that you are within the US. You spoke to the expansion that's coming soon. You spoke to even, just having to change the narrative and go against the grain a little bit, but not letting that deter you, because you're not going to be everybody's cup of tea. But for those people that are, you capitalize on that and you hone in. Now, I love this part of the interview. I love this part, not because it's over and not because we get off of here, but because more so this is my call to action. And this is where I pretty much tell the people to put the money where their mouth is, in a sense. And I want them to really just, whether they learn something, whether they ask questions, whether they even are interested themselves from a construction and technology standpoint, whether they knew nothing about asphalt paving, and now you've just given them a 101 breakdown for that. So for everybody out there for tapping in, can you just tell us all the best places to reach you, from social media to websites? Give us everything you got.
Yeah, so we're very active on LinkedIn. My personal profile, Bryce. We do a lot of talks about what asphalt is, the types of roads, and after you listen to this podcast, you might never look at a road the same after viewing what I talk about on there. But www.pavewisepro.com, that's where you can check out our website. We're also very active on other socials as well. Do a lot of articles in Asphalt Pro magazine if you want to look them up. And that's where you can find us and follow us. And we're just out to build better infrastructure with technology.
And trust me, after some of the places I've been lately, and especially being based in Florida with this weather, we need better infrastructure. So I'm with you guys 100%. If there's anything that we can do to bring Pavewise to Tampa, just let me know. What call, what email, who I need to sit down with, but we will do it, Bryce, for sure. But no, thank you for the time. Thank you for the education. Thank you really just for the breakdown here, and really just recognizing that, what you're doing, as you said, it's hard. And to wake up every day, to show up every day in the capacity that you do, that's no small feat. So I definitely take my hat off to you, imaginary in this case, but take my hat off to you, because that's tough. And especially based off of where you are. And like you said, especially going across different places, can't serve the West Coast and the East Coast the same, or the South the same, or the Northeast the same. So the fact that you're always adjusting and implementing, and the fact that, even tech has this notion sometimes to throw things at us that we weren't expecting, or we just have to adjust and adapt. This the same. So love all the work that you guys are doing. Always here to support every way that we can. And I'm sure my followers would attest to that just the same. And to everybody listening, to everybody tapping in, we appreciate y'all joining us. We had some feedback on Facebook and we had some feedback on LinkedIn. So I say you guys enjoyed this episode with Bryce based off of what I'm looking at on my end. But thank you to everybody. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. This has been another episode of the Down to Business podcast. Here with Tamar Turner.